Hello. For this tutorial, I will be going over how to save an image in a web-friendly format. And not only is it going to be web-friendly, but it is going to be at a size that your website or your browser is going to be able to load up in a relatively quick manner. Now, this image that I pulled up, I just grabbed it from somewhere, and this image is actually quite big. So if we were to go to File, Export, and Save for Web Legacy, give this a few seconds to load up here. This is a really big image, so it's taking a little while to process here. And we go ahead and look at the size of this image. It is at 8.5 megabytes in size. This is massive. For the web, you want something that's around like 200 KB, which is a fraction of the size of this image that we're looking at, but we still want to size it down, but in a way that it still looks good. It needs to be clean. We don't really want any artifacts or any blurriness. We don't want to lose the clarity that this image provides. Now, looking at this, I mean, this image is so big that I'm having to scroll around to be able to look at everything here. We're looking at the dimensions, so we're looking at 3,360 pixels by 2,108 pixels. Now, generally speaking, when you're looking at an image on the web, it doesn't need to be that big. People's monitors, unless they have a 4K monitor, but even then, you can save it at a lot smaller and it will still look pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to click on Cancel here. And what we want to do is we want to size this down but still have it look good. So I'm going to do a Command Option I. I believe on a PC it is Control Option I, and it brings up this option right here. And I want you to think of the size of the image, the size that you're going to be using it on the web. Generally speaking, if you're not sure, a good width would be about 1,000 pixels in width. It's still plenty big, and also the resolution for the web is, for the most part, 72. Alright, we've got 72 there. We're going to change this back to 1,000. Okay, so we've got 1,000 at a resolution of 72. 72 is the pixels per inch, so that is pretty much the depth or the how packed together those images are, or those pixels are. Alright, so we're going to click OK. Alright, this image is now showing a lot smaller. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and the image still looks pretty good. So go back. So this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. Now, unless we were going to zoom in real close, this image still looks really good. It's still a beautiful photo. Now what we can do is we're going to go to File, we're going to go to Export, Save for Web. This is a nice feature because it allows you to pretty much keep an eye on the size of the format as you size it down. And looking at this right here, it is now 1.2 megabytes in size. Now, unless you have transparent pixels on your image, you do not want it as a PNG 24. You want it as a JPEG. For the web, there's only two formats you really want to save an image as. It's either as a JPEG or as a PNG. PNGs is for transparent images. JPEGs is for anything else. Alright, so by changing that down to a JPEG, that's already down to 240K. So this image is now much, much smaller than it was previously. But let's see if we can get it down just a little bit more. So we want to zoom in to about the size that would be usually looking at the image. So we're going to say we're looking at this right here. Click on this quality right here, and you're just going to start pressing the down arrow button. And you keep doing that while keeping an eye on this. And you'll notice, if you go down far enough, you'll start to see these little artifacts that show up around the trees, around the edges, these little aberrations that that represent that this image is now becoming lower and lower. If we look here, we're even starting to get these kind of like these blocky shapes showing up in here. So if we keep going down lower and lower, we're going to see those more. we do not want that when we save our image. We want this image to look good. So we're going to just take that back up and watch those disappear. And we'll see how high we need to go, but keep this looking good. And honestly, it looks like 60 was actually a pretty good point. 240K is actually a pretty good size, considering that we still have this image at 1,000 pixels in width and 627 pixels in height. I wouldn't recommend saving an image any higher than 500K. 200K is really the sweet spot, and if you can get it lower than that, that's awesome. You'll load up fast, but at the size that we have it right now, this image should load up right onto anybody's computer really quickly, especially with the way internet speeds and everything else have been getting a lot better over the years. Alright, so just click on Save. And I'm just going to save this to my desktop. And I'm going to name this Landscape. Alright. So we've got our original image. And then we've got our new image. So it's a little bit smaller image. Still looks good. And this will open up in a flash on the web, whereas this one will take a minute or two to actually load. Now, if you do want it to be this size, go ahead, just make sure you save it as a JPEG. Make sure to adjust the resolution. Do whatever you can to make that file format smaller using the techniques that I showed you, and then just save the image at whatever resolution or size that you need it to be. Now, Photoshop is an awesome program. You can do this with PDFs, you can do this with TIFFs, you can do this with .ai files. I would imagine working on, if you're a graphic designer, you'll be working on images in a number of different formats. But when you save it for the web, make sure it's either JPEG or PNG. Alright, thank you.